What's up YouTube, I'm Mike and today I'm back with another video. A little lunchtime at home video it seems today. I have been living the dream, let me just tell you, today at work. So what I want to talk about today is what happened to me last night after I made my previous video. If you have not seen the video Blood Work and D-Game Update, you should check that video out first. Maybe I could do one of the little card things that I don't like wasting my time doing. Does anybody click cards? Like that, I'd be interested to know that. Like, do you ever actually stop in the middle of a video that you've already decided you want to watch this video? If I put a card up, are you actually going to click it and go to that video and then come back? In the comment section, let me know. Is that a waste of my time or should I be doing that? So nevertheless, if you haven't watched the previous video, I talked about getting my blood test results back and the fact that despite effectively everything being normal on my blood work, I still had totally broken D-game. I mean, just like spaghetti noodle, useless level of D-game action. And so honestly, yesterday I started to panic because this has been going on for months, like 2 months. You know, I blame the MENT, which admittedly, that's where all of this started. Everything that I've been going through for the past couple of months technically started with the MENT, but there was a secondary factor in the mix that I had not been really thinking about. So about the time that I started the MENT, I also found out that prolonged use of proton pump inhibitors, also known as like omeprazole, Nexium, supposedly have been linked to a variety of negative health effects. Everything from vitamin and mineral deficiencies, osteoporosis, and gastric malignancies, gastric tumors. So someone advised me to not be taking omeprazole or Nexium every single day, that it could cause me to have like a throat cancer or something, I think. And so of course I panicked and stopped taking the Nexium, which basically forced me to stop taking Cialis because I get just excruciating pain right here in my chest. Again, I mentioned this yesterday. I believe that in the same way that it dilates the blood vessels that allow for flow to your junk, apparently the same effect can loosen, I think it's called the stomach sphincter, maybe, and basically causes stomach gas to come up and cause heartburn. I think that's the way Cialis works. Honestly, I have no clue. But what I do know is that if I take even a tiny amount of Cialis, and I'm talking about 3 milligrams a day, 2 milligrams a day, within a couple of days, I have heartburn and stomach discomfort to the point that it starts negatively affecting my eating. It just negatively affects my whole day. I just have a constant burning feeling. And so I had sworn off the Cialis like over a year ago because while it worked really well in the bedroom, it made the rest of my day miserable. I get crushing headaches from it, a lot of negative side effects, until I found Nexium. I had read somewhere that you could take Nexium to offset the heartburn caused by Cialis. Nothing said, hey, don't take this every day. So I started taking Nexium every single day, and that allowed me to totally tolerate the Nexium. Well, at the same time that I started taking the MENT and blew my estrogen through the roof, I also stopped taking the Cialis because I thought because I couldn't cope with it in the absence of the Nexium. Well, there was a period of time about halfway through this entire event, I can't remember if I made a video about this or not, where I was having so much problems in the bedroom with my wife, and one night I had some leftover Viagra pills from way back when I started TRT. My TRT company is Royal Men's Medical Center, or Royal Medical Centers now, it's not just men's, royalmedicalcenters.com. And back in the day, I'm sure they still do this now, when you would enroll in the program, your first box would come with like 5 or so doses of Viagra to kind of help you get going until you got the T up into your system. And so I had only taken like some of them. I didn't really need it at the time. And so I still had it. And when I was going through all of these nightmares with my wife and with the MENT and the high E2 and the low prolactin, one night I popped one of those Viagras and it actually helped. And so I started the Cialis again at a really low dose, and within a couple of days, I was having excruciating heartburn. I tried using Pepsid Complete that Cavalcer had recommended, and maybe I underdosed it, but it basically wasn't solving the problem. And I didn't think the Cialis was really doing anything in such a low dose, so I stopped taking it. So I've had so when I talk about how my D game is kind of up, it has been kind of up and down over the course of the past month. It's possible that the reason for the ups and downs have been somewhat connected to the fact that I used a little Viagra here, I used a little Cialis there. And the other thing that I've noticed is that arousal state seems to be making having a huge factor. One of the things I think the Cialis really does is help overcome sometimes what can occur in a long-term marriage when you basically kind of get into a rhythm. You know, like obviously being sufficiently stimulated is very important to getting yourself into the act, especially when you have sex daily. When you have sex every single day, you really need a lot of stimulation to be able to function at that level. It's really not normal for somebody to be having sex every single day, I don't think. It's certainly not typical as far as the research would have us believe. So a lot of times I notice that if I go take a day off in between, then my functionality is way greater, but I still want it every day. And so that's one of the reasons I use excessive amounts of androgens and have been running Cialis, trying to basically have all hands on deck to maintain this very high level of sexual performance that I have been used to for years and years and years. So yesterday, as I mentioned in my video, I decided to reintroduce the Cialis just to see if it would have any effect. Because my E2 is normal, my prolactin is slightly low, everything else on my blood work, there's really no reason for this to be occurring anymore, which is what was scaring the hell out of me. I thought maybe I had broken myself in some kind of permanent way. So yesterday I took 1 milligram of tadalafil, of Cialis. Now you're probably asking yourself, how can you take 1 milligram of tadalafil? Well, it's difficult. So I have Cialis in pill form, and I have Cialis in powder form. On my milligram scale, the absolute lowest dose that my scale will register is about 3 to 4 milligrams. Really, it's 4 milligrams. 4 milligrams is really more than my body wants to tolerate, and I often get crushing headaches from taking that. So I got some Cialis pills, which of course come with binders and all kinds of things. So to get as close as I could to a 1 milligram dose, I took one of the Cialis pills, I weighed it, and then it's a 10 milligram pill. So I took the total weight, I divided that by 10, and that is, I think, 0.026 on my milligram scale, which is something that you can very easily measure. So basically, I crushed the powder as finely as I could get it, and then I scoop it out in 1/10 servings, which should approximate 1 milligram of Cialis. And so I took that yesterday, and lo and behold, last night, the D game is risen from the dead. Now, I wouldn't say it's 100% on one dose, but going literally in one 24-hour period to go from spaghetti noodle to like 85 to 90% rigidity was the most welcome fucking change I've had in a long time. I was really psychologically going into the toilet over this. I have never had a problem like this in my entire life. And it's got me to do a lot of thinking about the history of my polypharma abuse. So when my wife and I were camping a couple of years ago, I had a similar experience that I had forgotten about. I was taking the Cialis every day, and this was before Nexium, and so I was fighting off the constant heartburn and headaches and stuff, and it had gotten really just more than I wanted to deal with. And we were on the road traveling in our RV, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna stop taking this. I don't think I really need it. I don't think it's really doing anything. The dose is too low to really be effective. I'm just gonna stop taking it because I can't take the heartburn anymore. And in about a week, I started having broke D-game problems. Not totally broke, but I was unable to achieve full erection status. And so I was like, damn, well, maybe there is something to it. And so I started the Cialis again, and the problem resolved. Why this experience did not stay in my head, I don't know. And God bless my wife. She tries to be so careful not to do anything to cause me, to suggest that there's something could be wrong with me or broken. Like she really handles me with kid gloves for obvious reasons. I'm a little bit volatile. And so she had kind of hinted at it a couple of times over the course of the past month. Like, maybe, like, what about the Cialis? And I just kept blowing her off, basically. I was like, nah, I don't think so. It doesn't really make any sense. I'm not even really taking, a dose that's reasonable. Most guys are taking like 5, 10, 20 milligrams of Cialis. I'm taking it maximum 3 milligrams. So last night, after taking 1 milligram and having the vast majority of my functionality return, I started looking it up a little bit deeper. I've never really studied this drug. I did not start taking the Cialis for ED issues. That's not the reason I originally put it into my program. I wasn't having any ED issues at all. I originally put Cialis into my program when I was originally struggling with blood pressure problems. I think it was Vigorous Steve had made a video saying that you could use Cialis instead of like telmisartan to help control your blood pressure. And I was like, cool. If I can take Cialis and get some extra rigidity and, knock my blood pressure down a few ticks, that's winning at the game. So I ordered a bunch of Cialis and started taking it and found out that I couldn't really tolerate it. And so I was just taking it at this really small dose that I could semi-tolerate. And so I never really connected it to a problem. I don't know if maybe I caused a problem. Like I started taking Cialis when I definitively did not need it. And I had been on it for over a year straight. So I don't know if it's like habit forming, like if you take Cialis for a protracted period of time and then you stop, like does it make you dependent on the drug, or is it just my age? I don't know, but what I am sitting here telling you, and again, this could be coincidence. I'm going to continue running this experiment and reporting back so we can find out if that's actually the causal factor. But last night after 1 milligram, everything was different. Rigidity was substantially better and sensitivity was massively increased. One of the things that's been so frustrating is I have just sort of felt dead down there. There's like no brain to penis connection at all. It's like even when it would function, it was just off. Like I just felt disconnected from my body and I could never fully enjoy any of the acts that we were engaging in, which obviously is not confidence inspiring and obviously doesn't make you want to do it again. And obviously it could actually contribute to the problem when there's just like this missing, I don't even know how to describe it. It just felt kind of dead and disconnected. Last night, the second we got into it, instantaneously, the difference in sensation and the connection to my body, it's almost like a mind-muscle connection, You go to the gym and you really focus on the contraction of your bicep and you can develop that mind-muscle connection. It was like the Cialis immediately brought back like the mind-penis connection, and suddenly I felt more in the game and everything worked substantially better. So what I'm going to do is it worked. 1 milligram I would have thought would do absolutely nothing. We can't rule out for placebo effect. So what I did is I took another 1 milligram dose today. The reason is because 1, I want to rule out placebo effect, but 2, Cialis has a 36-hour half-life. So one of the problems that I think I get into with dosing is that like when I first started using Cialis, I could only tolerate 3 milligrams every other day. I was dosing it every other day. If I dosed it every other day, I didn't get the crushing headaches and I didn't get as much of the heartburn. But every other day when you're taking all these, I would have every other day Caber, or every other day Arimidex, and then you've got every other day Cialis, and sometimes these things don't match up. And trying to keep up with all of these every other day doses was a total nightmare. And so I just started taking the Cialis every day and taking the Nexium to offset the side effects. And so the fact is that if I take 1 milligram last night, I got 1 milligram. But when I take another milligram today, it's actually the total concentration of the drug is going to be slightly higher because of that 36-hour half-life. And so I'm going to stay at 1 milligram per day for 3 or 4 days and see if it continues to work. if it continues to work and my D game returns in full function, then we will have finally found the solution to this problem that has been plaguing me for 2 months. It's entirely possible that it was as simple as, like, I'm looking at all of the things that changed or didn't change in my cycle. Like, you know, and everybody's pointing the finger at 50 million things. Dude, why don't you get off the Deca? Dude, maybe the Masteron is a CERM. Maybe the Primo is an AI. Well, why are you taking Tren and Deca? It's 219 Nor drugs. That's breaking your D game. Well, what about prolactin? It's like 50 million people telling you 50 million different things, and it causes you to start second guessing everything that's going on in the equation. But what I knew to be true was that prior to using MENT and prior to cessation of the Cialis dosing, I was having no problem running 500 milligrams of test, 200 milligrams of Deca, 100 milligrams of Tren E, and 400 milligrams of Masteron. I was perfectly stable on all of those drugs, and my D game was fully functional while taking 3 milligrams of Cialis per day. The Cialis was just kind of in the background. Like, I don't even log it. I would just take it every day. I wouldn't think about it. I log basically every one. Actually, that's not true. I did log it to make sure that I didn't miss it. So I was logging it. But it just never occurred to me that that was the problem, because I never attributed any of my functionality to that drug. I assumed that the total dosage was too low. Last night when I started researching, is it safe to take Cialis every day, I found out that the starter dose for daily administration of Cialis is 2.5 milligrams. So I was, in fact, within the clinical dosing range for daily dosing of Cialis. So that is another piece of evidence to suggest that what really happened was not that the MENT got on board and broke everything. It definitively effed up my estrogen. There's no doubt about it. But I've had high estrogen, low estrogen, high prolactin, low prolactin. I have never had the level of broke D game from any of those variations at any point in my steroid career. But I always had Cialis in the mix. So it's rapidly starting to look like that all of the different compounds that have been getting blamed for my incessant broke D game, it was really the Cialis. I really am desperately hoping that that's the case. And even furthermore, in a perfect world scenario, I would only need 1 milligram per day to stay fully functional, and maybe at that dose I won't get side effects. But what I definitively decided last night is that if the Cialis continues to solve the problem, if we have multiple nights of perfectly functional D game on the Cialis, then the jury will be in Cialis is the causal factor. Then all we have to determine is what is the necessary dose to maintain functionality and what kind of side effects are we going to get. If the side effects return, I will try the Pepsid Complete, taking two tablets at a time, and give that a shot. I don't really fully understand why something like Pepsid Complete is safe to use every day, but a proton pump inhibitor is not. My understanding of this whole argument is that the proton pump inhibitor reduces gastric acid, and that creates problems. But Pepsid AC is an antacid. So I haven't done the research to see how these two drugs or supplements or whatever you call them actually function in the body. But what I can tell you definitively is if it comes down to spending the rest of my life with a limp noodle or risking gastric cancer because I'm taking a proton pump inhibitor every day, as I said in the previous video, I will roll the dice with the gastric cancer. If I have to go get a scan every year just to check to make sure things are all good, then I guess that's what I'll have to do. But I am not going to suffer through this misery for 1 second more. So, as I'm always trying to be an educator on this video, on this channel, YouTube, this information is for educational purposes only. If you happen to ever have situations like this and you are not currently taking a PED5 inhibitor, you might look into it. Even in very small doses, these drugs apparently are bioavailable and efficacious, because last night was markedly better than the nights before. So we're going to stay at 1 milligram. We're going to see how that continues to work. I'm going to continue running Tren Ace at 15 milligrams per day. I'm feeling phenomenal on that dose, although I will admit that I had some pretty significant Tren paranoia last night, like one of the worst cases I've had in a while. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm currently still committed to lowering my testosterone level, because while I seem to have gotten my E2 back into line, it's taking entirely too much 8X to keep it there. And so I've already lowered my test to 400 milligrams a week, and that's going to come back to, it's going to come down to 300 milligrams a week until I can get this 8X dose either down to very low or completely gone. And then I'm going to fill in the androgenicity requirements for my bodybuilding with other androgens besides testosterone. So I will either take the test completely out or run the absolute minimally effective dose to maintain my physiology as far as E2 conversion and all that. We'll just see. Now that I know that it's possible that it's not the injectables causing the broke D game, you know, it starts to open up a lot of possibilities in my mind again. One of the things I wish I could understand, again, is why it's taken so long to bring my E2 down, and even more so why it hasn't crashed. I was trying to do research last night to discover, is it possible that the 7-alpha-methyl estradiol that was created by the MENT is still in my system and is not showing up on my blood work? I mean, surely that's impossible. It would have to almost be, in order for the 7-alpha-methyl estradiol to still be bound to a receptor, it would have to bind irreversibly. And while I have read some things bind reversibly and sometimes some things irreversibly to a receptor, I would think the receptor itself would have some kind of functional lifespan. So I really can't believe that the 7-alpha-methyl estradiol is still floating around the system. I just don't understand why I'm taking so much 8X and not crashing my E2. So stay tuned, guys. We've got plenty of experimentation to come. I'm trying to keep my head about this channel. Thank you to all of you who have been inspiring me in the comments. One guy was saying, dude, just talk about anything, man. Just keep making videos. Just talk about anything. And I very well may do that because of job reasons that I won't discuss. So, man, it's gonna get exciting around here, guys. I'm gonna try to keep it live for you. I'm way more active in the Discord again. I think I'm gonna get my wife in front of the camera lens tonight and shoot some more exciting content for some of our other sites. I've really been missing that. It's been a lot of fun in the past, and you know, truth be told, it's just the trend. Every single time I come up on the trend, it's like, let's start taking pictures again. And so that'll probably happen for some period of time. So if you happen to be one of those viewers, be on the lookout for that. My phone's ringing, so I'm gonna cut this short. As always, thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.